the number of people who had connections with these 8, it's very surprising, particularly Omani Boama. A lot of different angles of tribute, friendships, even from across the aisle. A lot of political opponents, you would say, will be texting to say, look, I want to comment, I want to pay tribute. It tells you that sometimes, the way you live your life is like a book being written, and I feel like, of course, it's been said, the best way to honor them is at least let's do something decisive about Galamsey, because we know that was the event they were going for. It was a Galamsey related event, and this should really give us the impetus to take decisive action against this menace. It's become, proverbial. So I think that if there's anything you need to do to honor their memory, I think we can say that the death of the 8 was one too much. The Galamsey thing has taken many lives, taken rivers, taken forests, taken cocoa farms, took Major Mahama, and you can say it has taken these 8. So I really hope that in the grief, because the thing about grief is you can channel it. So it breaks you, it makes you quiet, but you can channel it to become a motivator. And I feel like as a nation, with all the various things that are happening, 16, then Lumba, and then the 8. There's a way you should channel the collective grief into some resolve to say that this is a turning point in the fight against Galamsey. Nimoy Thompson has also said this. He was interviewed during his book on condolence signing, and he said the same thing, that we need to, let's not waste this opportunity. Because look, everybody's coming together. You see Kufuor, Dr. Bawumia, and Mahama. You can tell that this has really hit us hard as a country. Do we just mourn and then cry and go back to business as usual? It shouldn't be so, So I think on about 2 or 3 levels, the Galamsey fight is one, and also on the whole safety culture thing. We shouldn't do a Fama Nyame with this one. Let's wait for the report. Let it be thorough. Let's scrutinize the fleet. All right. Somebody was telling me that, and I was very surprised to hear this, that this is the main helicopter even the president uses. I was shocked to hear this. I always assumed that because typically presidents use different planes, when it came to helicopters, it would be the same agenda. But apparently, this is the same helicopter the president uses. Which is why this investigation must be, I think it must be independent, it must be thorough, and it must also be time-bound. Right? And I can see why some people are concerned that if they leave the investigation to just one group, they may have an interest to do it in a certain way. But Sky, this is the helicopter that flies the president. This is the helicopter that flies the president. We don't know if it's the same pilot, but it is the same helicopter. And that changes the equation. All right, so we need answers. And again, sometimes we are not able to differentiate between the need to mourn and tap into faith and the divine. But that must move side by side with responsibility to do what is required, so that posterity will also find solace. You get it? So a lot of times what we do is that the person is dead. Let's not go too much into this. So people don't even want to do autopsies. It's already dead. It's okay. Let's just bury and let's move on. I think that moving on should not mean a non-reckoning. You see, so you can move on and say, we are at peace that the person is gone, but we have to find out. Could we have done anything to prevent it? How do we ensure that it doesn't occur again? What policy changes must we implement to reduce its likelihood to the barest minimum? So giving it to God does not mean you don't have a responsibility. You see, so I think this Fama Nyame syndrome has been misused. Fama Nyame is essentially to say that vengeance is the Lord's. All right, so there are some things that only God can do. We understand that. But Sky, God will not do by miracle what you must do by responsibility. So I feel like the Ghanaian psyche must be prepared to go into the details. So for example, when people talk about the emergency response, it's not a blame issue. You see, because a life unexamined is not worth living. If you don't go through the process of review, you cannot improve. Now, reviewing the emergency response is not to say it means that you have killed somebody, but at least we can say this is what we must change so that another person, in the past 3 days, last week there was another helicopter incident, true or false, in the Agona something area. Then there's yesterday another helicopter, VRA helicopter, stopping. People will be afraid. So how do you remove the fear? Do a thorough study. Be objective about it. Was it mechanical? Was it logistical? Was it just the weather? Was it human error? Do all those things. And then share the portions that are shareable. Of course, some are security and may not be shared for the public. We don't have any problem with that. Now, moving away from that into the general safety discussion. The Ghana Medical Association said before this crash, I think they said it last week or sometime this week, that they believe that road crashes are a public health emergency. I'm not sure Ghanaians heard it. I don't think I think because of all that's going on, we haven't processed that. If the GMA is declaring road crashes a public health emergency, I think we need to let us think in a bit more. It means that your likelihood of dying from a road crash is much more than malaria, typhoid, hypertension, stroke, diabetes. All the things we spend a lot of money on. Funny, we spend a lot of money on communicable and non-communicable diseases. All right, the so-called double disease burden. So a lot of discussions around lifestyle, eat well, hypertension, stroke, diabetes, the non-communicable, the communicable, typhoid, malaria, diarrhea. They are saying that road crashes are a public health emergency. I read a report on Ghana for some people, external people, who said you are more likely to die in Ghana from a road accident than from a mosquito bite. It's very serious. So why am I bringing road crash? It's a culture of safety. It's a culture of safety. The way people drive, visibility, the risk they take, lack of road markings. Roads are done. There are no street lights. There are no reflectors. You can have a whole beautiful road. I don't even know where I was this week. Sky, I drove. Yeah, I was coming. I went to Pando. So I used the Eastern Corridor Road from Esikuma to Peki to Peve to Have to Amfuega, passed through Wusuta Junction, ended up at Pando. If somebody is driving on the Eastern Corridor from Esikuma to Peve after 7 p.m. and it's raining, if somebody has left the car there without a triangle, they will die. There's no street light, and the road is not marked. So even if there's no street light, you can't put street light everywhere. Mark the road. If you can't mark the road, put a reflector on the road. Sky, I drove for over 170 kilometers. I can say from Temamoto roundabout to Pando, less than 10% of the road is marked. You know, now that tells you that we don't take road safety seriously. That's just what it is. And I can say that somebody can correct me. I don't think 20% of our roads are marked. Sky, if you don't mark a road, how do you expect somebody to drive? Because the road marking is your relationship with the road. So actually, you are telling people that you can drive anyhow. So if you put up a road and you don't mark it, you are telling people that, oh, the purpose of the road is for you to speed, to get to your destination. Whichever, you understand? In every serious, and I was in Togo 2 months ago. As I crossed the border from Akanu to Nuepe, if you turn right, you're going to Lome. Turn left, I'm going up to Baja. The street markings were very clear. The equivalent of that road was the Juja to Ho Road.
Horrible.
You know, so I'm saying that Ghanaians, let's also accept that we have a problem with safety. Maybe let me keep pushing it. So, accident or crash, a consequence of lack of culture of safety. Lack of culture of safety possible consequence of low value for life. Low value for life as a result of a misinterpretation of Amenyame. So at the heart, because everything you see physically has a non-physical cause. So the fact that they don't mark the roads and the fact that people drive by heart tells you that maybe the society does not value human life to the point of putting in place safety measures around driving. Okay, I think that's where the thing has gotten to. So let's not waste this tragedy. The tragedy is immense. You know, Sky, I even respect those who've been able to write tributes. I'll tell you something. When somebody close to you dies, one of the most difficult things to do is to write a proper tribute. So I am even impressed with, like yesterday, I read something that Emiliata wrote. She's done so well. To be able to pull that, you are a writer, Apioko. To organize your thoughts despite the suppressive power of sad emotions, to put pen to paper, to be logical, coherent, and even hopeful. That's extreme power. So when the government says people should bring tributes, they are asking people to go into the deep recesses of their heart to overcome the pain. Now, if we can do that, why can't we use the same level of emotional strength to say, let's change the way we organize our society? All right, let's change the way. And I think our lack of a safety culture will cost us immensely. Again, I don't know what caused the crash, but I can say that as for road crashes, I can tell you that there's no culture of safety. To the extent that roads are not marked, it's a problem. So please, Ghana, let's channel our collective grief into substantive policy change, attitudinal behavioral change. Let's place the human life at the center of every policy we make. Not how much money we make, not the procurement potential. How will this affect lives? Contractor, when you finish a road, don't give people access to the road if you haven't marked it. Don't give people access to the road if you haven't given it road signage or you haven't put on reflectors. It's dangerous. It's better to drive on a bad road and drive slowly than to speed on a fully asphalted road without markings. It's very dangerous. So I want to urge all of us, from the built environment professionals to policymakers to media, to re-emphasize safety, public safety, not as a business but as a culture.